Why not be supine with her knee extended?
Because that will affect the range.
Okay, in what way? Or why?
The passive insufficiency
Of the,
plantar flexors.
good. And which plantar flexor muscle in particular is affected by the position of the knee?
Gastrocnemius.
That's right, the gastrocnemius. Because it crosses the knee joint, so if I had her knee extended, that would make it passively insufficient and could limit the amount of dorsiflexin that she has. All right, so we really need the knee flexed. If she was not able to sit up and I had her supine, what would I need to do with the knee?
Flex it.
Flex it how? How would I do it?
Something underneath it.
Yeah, like a rolled up pillow, probably at least like 30 degrees, I think, maybe your book might say.
Say
Degrees
30.
of flexion. What?
No, say 30.
30? Okay. All right, so very important that the knee should be flexed if you're measuring straight dorsiflexion. We're going to see in a little bit that the way to indirectly measure the length of the gastrocnemius is to extend the knee and then measure the exact same thing that we're about to measure right now. All right, so what are we going to use as an axis? We're going to use the lateral malleolus, and the distal arm is going to go to where? I'm sorry, let's do the proximal arm first. Proximal arm is going to be with the midline of the fibula, and what bony landmark can I aim toward?
Head.
Of the fibula. Head of the fibula. Now notice, it is very common to get the lateral condyle of the tibia mixed up with the head of the fibula, so they're not the same thing. All right, so you're going to go a little bit distal and a little bit posterior to get the head of the fibula. Now, for someone who's real thin, it's going to be real easy to find. It'll be poking out. For others, it won't be as easy. Go ahead and relax for me. All right. Okay. So, let's see. Let me get you to do this motion right here. To evert your foot. Okay, just keep the leg still. And just turn the sole of your foot upward like that. Okay, relax. Okay, and do it again. Okay, and relax. And do it again. Okay, and relax. Okay, why did I have just evert several times? I heard some mumbling.
I said to find the head of the fibula.
And how does that help find the head of the fibula?
Turn it out.
Okay, what about it?
It moves.
What moves?
The fibula. The head of the fibula.
Fibula moves? I hope not. Because the fibula is a bone, right?
Oh, one of those muscles we went over.
Okay, which muscle?
Peroneus longus.
Peroneus longus has its origin on the head of the fibula, right? So I was having some trouble finding it. Okay, so I had her do a lot of eversion. You can feel that Peroneus longus belly popping out when you do that. Okay, so just be careful, make sure you look at the skeleton as you practice today, and then on your partner. Try not to get the head of the fibula mixed up with the lateral condyle of the tibia. Okay, so that's what I'm going to point the goniometer at. Now, notice what the distal arm is lined up with. Okay, now it's going to be lined up with the fifth metatarsal, but notice what about the fifth metatarsal?
Parallel.
Parallel to, don't try to put it on the fifth metatarsal because you're not lining up correctly. All right, so it's parallel to the fifth metatarsal. Or you could say it's parallel to the base of the calcaneus. All right, so please notice, parallel to, not on top of, as you measure that. All right. So if you think about dorsiflexion, what's the neutral position? What's 0 degrees? So when you're at actually a 90-degree angle, that's 0 degrees right there. Okay, so that makes it a little bit challenging doing the measurement. So this is 0 degrees. That's the starting position right there. So if she does dorsiflexion like this, how am I going to measure that?
Start minus the end.
Explain, please.
You start at 90, you end at
Okay.
70, you subtract 70 from 90.
Okay, so that's one way to do it. I could go, all right, I'm going from 90 here to about 72.
18.
90 minus 72 is 18 degrees. Now, I'm mathematically challenged, and that would just freak me out doing that. So that you can do that if you want. If you're good at math, you're calm under pressure, that sort of thing, that's fine to do that. What's the easier way to do it? Anybody know? Anything you notice about the goniometer?
Can you look at the other side?
It's got some red numbers on it on the outside here. Those red numbers are solely designed for this type of situation where you're starting at 90 degrees. Right? So I know it's hard to see from here, but if you can see the red numbers, what does it say right there? It says 0. It goes 0, 20, 40, 60, so forth. So I can look at the red numbers and say, oh, okay, that's 17 degrees right there. So I would really make use of the red numbers when you're starting at 90 degrees. So we'll see at the hip, there's another instance where you'll do that. All right, so that could really help with this. Okay, one more thing. Go ahead, relax. Okay. Is she at 90 degrees right now? No, so people get like preoccupied with this and think, I got to start her at 90 degrees before I measure. No, you don't. I mean, you know she can get to 90, so don't get all worked up if she's not resting in 90 degrees. Okay, and I still have to do this. I have to get oriented to the goniometer, so I have to say, okay, here's 0 degrees. I'm looking at red numbers, and I'm measuring dorsiflexion. It's going to go up like this, so I need to look over here. All right, so, all right. And the table doesn't go up anymore, so lateral malleolus, head of fibula, and then parallel to, okay? Can you do that motion that I just showed you, please, as far as you can go? Okay, and again, there's room for error, because I'm doing parallel to, and it's hard to see, and I'm getting, with her, 9 degrees of dorsiflexion. Okay, and you have an average of, what, 20 degrees? Okay, so you'll find quite a few of you won't have 20 degrees of dorsiflexion. Okay, and then here's the movement you're going to do right here. All right, can I see you do that movement? And we're going to line up the exact same way. And again, I'm parallel to, oh, I forgot to get oriented, now I'm all freaked out. Okay, so let's see, where are we? Let me start like this. This is 0. Now she's doing dorsiflexion. I'm going this way. I'm going to look at those red numbers right there. Right, parallel to, and I've got 50. I've got 54 degrees. All right, and you have what's an average that you have? Is it 60?
50.
50, between 50 and 60. A lot of you will have a lot more than 50 degrees. Some of you will be fairly close to 90 degrees, 80 or 90 degrees. Okay, now documentation here can be pretty tricky. And specifically, and I'll tell you right now, everybody on your skills test, everybody's going to be measuring ankle dorsiflexion and plantar flexion. And for a lot of you, here's going to be the situation. All right, Aretha, I want you to bring your foot up this way. Oh, that's as far as I can get her. She's got what type of contracture? Plantar flexor contraction. That's as far as I can. I'm trying to pull her up into dorsiflexion. That's as far as I can go. But she's got full plantar flexion, but that's as far as she can go right there. All right, common situation at the ankle. So let's figure out how to measure and document that. Jason, can you go to the board, please? All right, let's see how Jason does with this. Okay, so let's say that Aretha, I'm trying to get her to do dorsiflexion, and that's as far as she can go. Can you hold that right there? Okay, what position is she in right now?
Close to neutral.
Okay, is she all the way in neutral?
It looks like she's more plantar flex for my
She's
angle.
in some degree of plantar flexion.
Plantar flexion.
Even though I'm trying to get her to do dorsiflexion because of the tightness of her plantar flexors, that's as far as I can go with her. All right, so let's see. Okay, she's actually in 12 degrees of plantar flexion there. Okay, so we got 12 degrees with the dorsiflexion measurement, and then go ahead and go down as far as you can, and we'll keep it at 56 degrees. So I have a measurement of 12 degrees and a measurement of 56 degrees. Can you document that for me? All right, what do you all think about that?
I don't like it.
Why not?
Not.
Why not?
I'm not sure exactly, but
You
it's
started at 78 degrees plantar flexion?
Are you saying you don't understand what the 78 degrees is?
I don't either.
I don't either. What in the world is 78 degrees? Where'd you get that from?
I don't know. I thought like we were
Oh,
at
from
90 when
90?
started. I have no idea.
Okay.
I subtracted.
so.
Okay, so people do all kinds of bizarre things. Once you get to the angle, and that's a good example. I've seen all kinds of stuff. All right, so can anyone give Jason a little help here? Britt?
Did you do 56 to 12 plantar flexion?
Okay.
Like you switch
Why don't
that
you
up?
write that and see what you think about that? Okay, what do y'all think about that?
The
No.
numbers are still
What's
correct.
that?
Backwards.
In what way?
For your starting point first.
Starting and then ending point. Why don't we reverse those two numbers? All right, what do y'all think about that? Brittany, do you like that better, or do you like your...
Absolutely.
All right, now you take over for a moment, Jason.
Absolutely.
All right, this is good because it tells you where you started and where you ended. You started in 12 degrees of plantar flexion and went to 56 degrees of plantar flexion. Now, there's another way you could document if you just wanted to know how much dorsiflexion does the person have. Can anyone raise their hand and give me an example? Sorry, Brittany, you had your chance. Lindley?
Negative 12 degree, like minus 12 degrees of left ankle flexion.
Okay.
Dorsiflexion.
Dorsiflexion or plantar flexion?
Dorsiflexion.
Why do you say that? You sound very confident.
Because it's 12 degrees below the official 0 degrees of dorsiflexion.
It means you're lacking something, right? So you're lacking 12 degrees of dorsiflexion. What that really means is you're, like you said, you're lacking 12 degrees from being neutral, from being in the starting position for dorsiflexion. Okay, so that is actually fairly common to see that. I personally like this better because it tells you everything you need to know. And the negative can be confusing sometimes. But this is appropriate here. Yes?
Are you only really required to do two numbers when the second number, the end range, is not the normal end range? So if she didn't end at 50 but 40, you'd have to do 12 to 40. Where in this case she went to a normal end range, so you could just do negative 12 of Dorsey.
That could be the case. If often, no one's concerned about how much plantar flexion a person has because it typically is not limited. So this is a very common way to write it. So you might do that if the plantar flexion range isn't normal also. There could be a lot of cases where you're not even measuring the amount of plantar flexion because you know it's normal. You're just concerned about the amount of dorsiflexion. And it would be very common to document this way. All right, now, who remembers, what was the first actual measurement I got for Aretha's dorsiflexion?
9.
Okay, so what do you think about this? Do we like that?
Sure.
It's not wrong. You started at 9 degrees of Dorsey, you went to 0, and then you went to 50 to planar.
So technically, maybe that could work, but you will never see that, and if you write it, no one will have a clue as to what you mean, and you'll be made fun of in all kinds of ways. So just don't do that. That works at the knee and elbow, and even then, people might not understand what it is you're writing. Don't do it anywhere else. So if we wanted to do this, we would write it as 2 different measurements. We would say left degrees reflection, and 56 degrees reflection, or something like that. That's 2 different measurements. All right. Anything to clarify about that measurement? Okay, so again, every one of you are going to measure plantar flexion and dorsiflexion. Quite a few of you are going to have a situation like this, when the person has a plantar flexion, contraction, or tightness, and they can't get to neutral. All right, and I'm just letting you know, people freak out about it. I don't know if that term is still used, freak out, but they get really in a lot of trouble with this, trying to figure it out during the skills test and on clinicals. Anything to clarify? All right, so make sure you practice that and you're ready for that. And then the what other motion?